Jefferson says no society can make a perpetual constitution. The earth belongs always to the living generation. Well, we'll talk more about that. This is Thoughts While Thinking, and these opinions are mine. And Jefferson says that no government ought not to be without censors. As long as we have a free press, we'll have those censors. Well, he wasn't anticipating our corrupt media. He wasn't thinking about how media has gone sour and is just a propaganda tool of the government. And he says that I'm not advocating frequent changes in the laws and the Constitution, but the institution must go hand in hand with the progressive of the human mind. These were in letters to Madison and Adams, and I don't think he was thinking about all the corruption that could take place with this fake news. He just wasn't aware that we could have that fake news. And Adams says, but a constitution of a government once changed from freedom can never be restored. Liberty once lost is lost forever, and I'm afraid we're just about there. I think we're just about lost it. And Madison says that it'll be done a little bit at a time. It won't be done by one big whack. We just, and that's where we've been. We've just been dwindling away our rights and freedoms and liberties, and that's exactly what Madison was afraid of. And Jefferson also said that people need to be educated to keep the freedom, and we're not educating. We're dumbing them down. We're got a indoctrination instead of a education system, and we're just dumbing down and perpetuating the propaganda of the federal government and causing more power to be transferred up there and messing up our children's minds. And Ben Franklin said we got to teach our kids a moral authority and to be self-controlled and reliant, and we're not doing that. We're just dumbing them all down. And Jefferson says he prefers a dangerous freedom over a peaceful slavery. Well, I think right now we've got a dangerous slavery. I don't like where we are, and I don't like where we're going, but we got to do something about that. And he also said that if a nation expects to be ignorant and free in the state of civilization, it expects what never was or ever will be. He says that if we can't be free if we don't have an education and understand what's going on, and an educated people. And Adams says that our Constitution was made for the common good of the people and the safety, and not for the profit of any individuals or position or corporation or government or anything. It is made for the people, and we got to keep our people in control. And the government is that governs best, governs least. That's what Jefferson said, and I believe that. But right now, our government is controlling every aspect of our life. And Madison says that if we elect people to power without any restraints on them, we're in trouble. And that's not the free principles that they fought for. We got to keep them in their legal limits. We can't let them go wild like they are right now. And Jefferson says that there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. Now think about that. Now we're trying to get to that one thing where they're all end up in the same and equal, everybody equal, and we've got to move forward from there. And Madison says it'll be no avail if the laws get to be so voluminous that you can't be read and understood. And now then our 100,000 word laws and stuff that'll go unread but being passed anyway. Think about that. Think about the length of our laws. And Jefferson says again that the Bill of Rights is the right for a people, and the government's supposed to protect your Bill of Rights and not do away with them. But our Bill of Rights have been done away with a little bit at a time. And John Adams said that our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to govern of any other. Well, we don't have a moral and honest people anymore, so it's inadequate. We've got to get back and make it adequate. And Adam said that he didn't like to have a two-party system, but it was a necessary evil for checks and balances, and he thinks that's a political evil, but he had to go for it anyway, and I think he was probably right. And Jefferson said every government that degenerates when trusted to the rulers of the people alone, people themselves must have the control and the authority, and we've lost that. We've given it up. We've given it to the government. And Adams says that there's two ways to conquer a country. One is by the sword, and the other one is by debt. Now think about our debt. Our debt is over trillions of dollars, and it's still rising every day. They just can't get enough money. And because power corrupts, society demands for moral authority, and the characters increase, and the importance of the position increases. Well, he's saying that if a president doesn't have any moral authority, he ought not to be elected. And we've been elected people without moral authority at all. And Jefferson says there's no justification in taking away individual freedom in the cause of public safety. Well, a good example of that, and a pet peeve and a burr under my saddle blanket, is a seatbelt law. It's taking away our freedom of choice, and that's against our Constitution, and that's against what we fought for and what we move forward on. And Jefferson says that a republic is the only government form which is not entirely at open and secret war with the rights of mankind. So he's saying that if we can keep a republic, we're not going to be able with a war with our rights, but we've slipped away from that. And he says the most bad government has grown out of too much government. Well, that's where we are. He saw that coming. And Jefferson said that when people fear the government, there's tyranny, and when the government fears people, it's liberty. We've said that, and we're going to talk about it again. And he says that the government big enough to give you everything is big enough to take away everything you have. We've talked about that, and we're going to talk about it some more. And Adams says liberty once lost is lost forever. We've talked about that, and we're going to talk about it some more. And Adams says that the future generations that will never know how much pain that trouble that it was to give us the freedom, and he hopes we can take care of it, and he don't want to have to look down from heaven and be disappointed. Well, I know he's shaking his head in shame right now. And Jefferson says that free men don't ask permission to bear arms. Well, think about that. As long as we're free, we don't have to ask permission. And he says the beauty of the Second Amendment is that it will not be needed until they try to make it. Well, think about it. They're trying to do that, and that's when it's needed, and we need to keep it. And they didn't like that taxation, but we slipped it in there. And we did that in 1913. In 1865 or so, they had the 14th Amendment, which gave a government the power to tax. And in 1913, they made it legal to tax, and that's where we are. And Jefferson says the end of democracy and the defeat of the American Revolution will occur when the government falls into the hands of lending institutions and moneyed corporations. Well, that's where we are. And he says that if American people ever allow private banks to control the issuance of their currency, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations will go around them and deprive the people of their property until their children wake up homeless and their fathers conquered. Well, that's where we are. The banks have taken over the Federal Reserve. It was established in 1913, and we've been losing freedoms under that ever since. And Jefferson said the strongest reason for people to retain and keep and bear arms is the last resort to protect themselves against a tyrannical government. Well, we're there. I'm not advocating anything, but that's where we are. And to sum everything up, Jefferson says that when people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there's liberty. And all tyranny needs to gain a foothold is a good people of conscience to remain silent. And the government big enough to take everything you want, give you everything you want, is big enough to take everything you have. The strongest reason for the people to retain and keep and bear arms is the last resort to protect themselves against the tyranny of government. He says, I predict the future of happiness of Americans can prevent the government from wasting the labors of people under the pretense of taking care of them, and to compel a man to subsidize with his taxes the propagation of ideas which he disbelieves and abhors as sinful and tyrannical. Now, we've covered all of that, and that's where we are. That's where we're covering again, and that's what we've got to work on. And no, George Orwell put it right there. He says that you elect corrupt politicians, impostors, and thieves and traitors. You're not victims, you're accomplices, and that's the way it is. And keeping in time with their local media and their corrupt media, Jefferson said, posted on the internet that he didn't say all those things. Now think about that. That's where we are with our mass media today. And that's my thoughts while thinking. And these thoughts was mine, and it's adios amigos, and we'll see you on the flip side.